Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Greg Belle, and I'm a photographer here in Reno, Nevada.
What was your first camera?
Oof. First camera would have to be one of the little 110 cereal box cameras from like a box of cornflakes or something like that.
When did you start doing photography and how did you start?
Uh, I've always been into photography. My dad used to turn the bathroom into a dark room for our baby pictures, and then growing up in the 90s, it was kind of the era of disposable cameras, and so always wanting to capture just what was going on, skating, surfing, and just always having a camera, the excitement of sitting the camera in and getting the prints back, seeing all the blurry shots, seeing like the one good one, and then making copies for your friends so you can just have them hanging out in your room. That was kind of like the start of taking a lot of pictures for me.
What do you like to shoot? What's your favorite type of photography?
Portrait photography. Landscape photography is not really my thing, and so anything that has to do with people, sign me up. The next subject after that would have to be, I guess, like street, but more so travel and like buildings and places where I'm new and I'm uncomfortable being there.
Do you shoot professionally?
Um, yes and no. If by professionally you mean it's my main source of income, then absolutely not. If by professional you mean everything I do in photography, I do to the best of my ability, and I put out quality and something that I'd be proud of, and something that I am proud of, then yes, I am a professional photographer.
Have you had any formal photography training?
I took a class in junior college when I was 20 or so. It was just like a photography 101. That was my first introduction to the darkroom. I was dating a girl who was a photographer. She was really into photography, and she inspired me to enter the school art competition, and I entered a few portraits that I got to take when I worked at the Child Development Center with some kids, and a few of them playing. And I won a few categories, and she didn't win anything, and she dumped me. Yeah.
Bummer.
Well, and it happens sometimes, so it stuck with me, and she didn't. So that's that.
Do you have a favorite focal length?
It depends on what camera I'm using. I mainly shoot with an 8x10, and my favorite focal length for that is 300, which is normal. So if you're using like a 35 millimeter, it's right around the 50 to 55 millimeter focal length. When I shoot with my 35 millimeter cameras, I've really been into 35. It's a challenge because I'm not used to it. And when I shoot medium format, I really like the 100 millimeter focal length.
Do you have a favorite photo that you've taken?
I do, but no one's seen it. It's not so much my favorite because of like the skill involved, or like the quality of the image. It's just a photo from a very important and painful time in life, and so I don't know if anybody will ever see it. But if there was one photo that I absolutely had to save, I think that would be it.
Do you have a favorite photo that you've seen?
No, I don't have. I try not to have favorites or bests of anything. I think that takes away from the experience of liking a whole lot of different things. I have like a list of photographs that I enjoy looking at. Anything from Avedon's In the American West series is absolutely amazing. Helmut Newton on the same page. His Polaroid work is really amazing. Annie Lebowitz, her portrait of Leonardo DiCaprio with the swan around his neck is one of my absolute favorite photos to look at. I don't know. It just depends on the mood I am when I see things, but also like the context of what makes that photo a great photo. And there's so many different photographers that cover those bases for me, so it's kind of hard to pick just one that I want to look at for the rest of my life.
What inspires you to create?
Well, part of that is a secret, but what inspires me to create is, first of all, I can. Photography, out of all the art forms that I know how to do and have been blessed with the talent to do, photography is the hardest one because it doesn't come naturally. Music is easy for me. Drawing is easy for me. Painting is kind of easy for me. Photography takes a lot of work for me to be good, and by good I mean confident enough to share my work with other people, confident enough to allow people into that space. And so the ability to want to create something amazing, want to be considered a good and a great photographer is what drives me. Also, when it comes to people, it's the ability to, like, I'm lucky enough to be able to see beauty in people, and I get to show them sides of them that they may not normally see. And that sounds kind of ego-driven, but when someone who doesn't really have confidence in themselves and in the way they look or who they are, and I get to do a session with them and they are blown away by the results, I think the empowerment that comes from seeing yourself as strong or as beautiful, as handsome, as a special human being, I think that stays, that'll stay with you for a lifetime. And I every chance I get to do that, I feel lucky that I even picked up photography in the first place.
Awesome. What's in your camera bag?
Camera bag is not accurate. I have a camera van, I guess. My 8x10 takes up a huge box, and I shoot that. It's my primary camera. On any given day after that, I've got between 3 and 5 cameras on me because I am a film photographer. I need the ability to shoot black and white or color based on what I want the pictures to be. My main cameras after that are the F3 from Nikon, and I run 2 of those. One's black and white, one's color. And I love the old point and shoot cameras where you just have to frame it and take a picture. Something about trusting the camera and me, like at that point it's all composition and subject. So if I don't pick a good subject or compose it properly, like the image isn't good. But the cameras, those old cameras are pretty good at exposure. So it's at that point, like the ability to take a good photo falls like completely on me. And lots of films in my camera bag all the time.
What do you think of selfies, and do you take them?
What do I think of selfies? I feel that selfies can be a great form of expression. I also feel that, oh, this answer is going to get me into a lot of trouble. I think that there's a desire to want to be seen. There's a desire to want people to care about what we're doing at all times. And I think that as important as it is to be seen, I feel that I feel like you should just have friends take pictures of you. Like find some friends that are photographers, or like give someone else your cell phone. Or have them take pictures because they see you experiencing something good. Have them take your picture. Like I guess have people in your life that notice when you're happy, or notice when you're enjoying yourself. Notice when you get dressed up to go out, or put your makeup on, or you're just feeling yourself. Like have people in your life that see those differences, and they go, "Hey, let me take your picture. Like you look really good. Like it's a great outfit." Or, "Whoa, your hair looks great. Like let's get a picture." Selfies have been around for a long time. There are a lot of photographers that are no longer with us that have practiced the art of self-portraiture. I have done self-portrait series. I take selfies. So I'm not against them. I feel that there's a lot more ways to show who you are than a selfie. Final answer.
Maybe.
Maybe.
I could probably spend all day on that question.
Yeah.
Sounds like.
Yeah, I like when people in our lives, like they need to, they just need to show us that they see us. And I feel that a lot of selfies could be replaced with someone noticing that you're having a good time, or someone noticing that you're feeling yourself. Final answer.
All right. We'll move on to the next one. What are your thoughts on social media?
Oh. Okay, my thoughts on social media are both good and bad, solely based on my experience. As someone who has gone their whole life wanting to fit in and wanting to be accepted, social media is also, it's good and bad. I get to curate my life in a way where people can see how awesome I am, and they can like it, and they can feed my ego when they like my pictures. They can feed my ego when they follow me, because now I have people that care about what I do. Now I have people that think that I take good photos, that I am interesting, that I am worth paying attention to. And the part of me that has always wanted that is excited and loves it. The part of me that loves it also gets super bummed out when that doesn't happen. When I post an image that I've worked really hard on, one that I'm really proud of, and it gets zero attention, or it does worse than other photos that I've just kind of taken on accident, or ones that are just okay. Like it hurts, and it, unfortunately, I have tied it into my self-worth. And so there's highs and there's lows. There's days where I'm like, yes, like I'm going to post, and I'm going to interact, and there's crickets. And then it's like, well, why even bother? Why do I take photos? I'm just going to sell everything, and just not do photography anymore. However, it also allows you to connect, and allows me to connect with so many amazing people and artists, to learn new styles, to try new things, to see that there are some really talented people out there. And so I'm grateful for the ability to discover new things all the time. But if I were to balance out whether social media is good or bad for me, like right now, it's in the, like, it makes me feel like I don't want to shoot anymore. And that happens more often than not. And I wish that I could disconnect my value and my self-worth from social media platforms and how they're tied to what I love to do through photography. But right now I can't, and that's just something I have to continue to work through.
Why did you choose photography as a medium?
Maybe it chose me. I wanted to become creative again, and after working for the Forest Service for 10 years, I felt that photography would be one of the easiest way to get creative again. And so I kind of just dove into film. I like the aspects of shooting film, and so, like, yeah, I think it kind of just showed itself to me, and I said, okay, let's try this.
Do you have a favorite camera, and why?
I do. I have my Birkin James 8x10, and it's my favorite because it's big and it's intimidating. When I shoot with 8x10, it's one frame at a time. It's one sheet of film at a time, and so I have to make sure that everything is the way I want it before I click the shutter. And I also have been doing a lot of printing, and so I haven't really been scanning 8x10 into digital form. And so when I go to print, like, there is really no editing process other than being able to control the contrast and to dodge and to burn. So if there's, a light socket in the background that I didn't notice, and like there's a light socket in the background, and it's there. Like there's no taking it out. It forces me to shoot better. It focuses, or it forces me to make sure that everything that I want to do is in the image. It forces me to be connected to the subject. It forces the subject to be present. I've noticed that when I shoot 8x10, there's less of people being on their phone. There's a more of a respect for what's going on when it comes to making an image. And it kind of just makes me feel like a badass. Like, I don't know. I think that's just it's a combination of all those things. It just feels right.
Who influenced you as a photographer?
I would say, if I had to pick a list of like three, the first on that list would be Annie Lebowitz. Growing up in Southern California in the 90s and 2000s as a teenager, everything was about fashion. Gap, Abercrombie, Structure before it became Express, and I didn't realize it at the time, but like the feel of of the 90s was heavily influenced by Lebowitz and her shooting celebrities, the Milk Mustache campaign. There's so much of that look and that feel that she inspired. And so when I go back now, when I revisit that work, I can say, oh, that's why I like a certain style, because it's been subconsciously kind of beaten into like my teen and early 20s. Along with that, also Herb Ritz, a black and white photographer, really huge into the LA art scene as far as black and white photography. And then to round out that list would be Richard Avedon, based on not so much his work. I mean, his work is a huge influence, but more so the way that he went about capturing images, the way that he talked to the people in front of the camera, and like how much he knew he was great and respected his work. So if you look at in the American West series, it was a commission, and he shot 17,000 sheets of film for that project. And people might say that the price is different back in, between now and the 70s. But it's about the same. So you're looking at like 10 sheets of film, $10 a sheet of film, $10 a sheet. So 17,000 images, but the final project was only 123, 127 images, and he destroyed the rest of the negatives because he knew that one day, I feel that he knew one day he would pass, and he also knew that people like to put their own interpretation on art from artists that have passed away, and he didn't want that. He shot the project. He knew what he wanted the project to say, and was like, tough, like that's it. I don't know if I could ever do that. That's a lot of hard work. That's a lot of time. But to be able to say, like, I know what I want my work to look like, and I don't want anybody to mess with it, that also inspires me for why I do things the way that I do when it comes to shooting film, to printing, how I talk to people in front of my camera. Between those three, I would say those inspire me to shoot how I shoot and to create the way that I create.
Where do you think your photography is going?
Where do I think it's going?
Yeah.
I want to say I want it to go into galleries, and I want it to go into people's homes. I don't know that I have an answer for that question. Where it's going for me personally. The more I shoot, the better I get, and the more confidence I have in myself. And that has been playing out in trying bigger projects, being confident every time I pick up a camera, and not just because the conditions are perfect. Where it's going for me is, I don't know. I don't know that I have a direction where it's going. I'm pretty grateful that I'm able to shoot with different people, and they're trusting me to create and shoot the way that I want to. That's been a huge gift. And so if I had to pick like a destination on a map, I would say I would love for photography to get me to the point where I can email or call someone and say, I would love to do a session with you. And they see my work and they say, like, hell yeah. And I would love to be able to make money from it, not to live on, but I would love to make money from photography in order to continue to shoot the way that I shoot. Film's expensive, chemicals are expensive, paper's expensive. And so if photography takes me to continue doing things my way, that's a good start.
Where do you think the future of photography is going? Photography in general?
I think that with the pandemic that has been going on with COVID-19 and social distancing and stay at home, I think that people are starting to realize that we as a culture have taken so many things for granted. And I feel that the pictures that are being shared on social media, I think that from people that wouldn't call themselves photographers, I think that we're seeing a little bit more into who they really are as opposed to who they want people to think they are on social media. I think there is a gift to be had in realizing that like we're not guaranteed all these moments to hang out with our friends or to party or to just take selfies on top of the world. I think that we as a society are starting to realize that like things, we aren't guaranteed a tomorrow, we're not guaranteed anything really. I know we're big on freedoms and all this as Americans, but being free and having freedoms doesn't mean we're guaranteed. We're not guaranteed tomorrow. As free as we are, like things happen, and so it's really awesome to see that. As far as people who call themselves photographers, I see that the ability to just make a ton of money from photography, like mainly wedding photography, that has taken a hit. And so I feel that because people can't just go out and take pictures or hire someone to take pictures, I think that people are starting to see the importance of documenting life. There's a photographer, Matt Day, and he's really big into those words, like document your life, take time to notice the things around you, and to take pictures of them. I feel that photography is going in a positive direction. I feel that it's kind of forced photographers to realize and to think about why they take pictures and why they're calling themselves a photographer. I feel that it's gotten rid of a lot of people that did it just because it was cool. I think that it's gotten rid of a bunch of people that did it because it was really good money. And I think the people that are staying in photography, I think they actually realize that it is something that they absolutely love to do, as opposed to something that they want to do or something they picked up. And that's exciting, because as the quality of the person behind the camera gets better, the quality of what comes out of the camera will get better. And I'm really excited to see how that turns out.
Why do you shoot film?
Because it's cool. No, I shoot film because I shoot film because I want to be confident in myself. I shoot film because the feeling of pulling negatives out of the tank and seeing that you didn't get it, like, it forces you to become better. It forces me to shoot better. I tend to be a perfectionist, and so doing a shoot and shooting, 500 images, 700 images in an hour, it makes me feel like I don't trust my gut and I don't trust the skills that I have to frame an image, to compose, to look at the light, to look at, if I'm shooting people, to look at their expressions or to feel their energy or to see, like, when to take the image. There's a term called the decisive moment, and it's realizing, like, when to click the shutter, when to take the picture. And if I shoot digital, and I have the ability to take as many pictures as I want to, then I just turn into, let's just shoot and I hope that I got what I wanted, instead of saying, hey, this is what I want to do. This is the shot that I'm going for. How do I make that happen? And I make it happen. And if I don't, then it means I have to go back and I have to be better. I have to figure out why the image didn't work, whether it was composition. And I have really great friends that I run images by, and they will critique, not criticize, but they will critique my work, and it just allows me to grow. Film makes me push myself. Film makes me feel connected to, like, the history of photography. And also, film scares me. So I do everything in-house, from loading the film to shooting the film to unloading it to developing it to drying it to printing it to scanning it. And if I am distracted or if I am not on top of my game, then maybe I ruin the negatives. Maybe I fix them first instead of developing them first. Maybe I pull them out of the tank and they're blank. Maybe I've overexposed them. Maybe I've underexposed them, which is way worse. And then I have to tell that family or that person that, hey, like, we have to reshoot because I messed up. And we don't always get a reshoot. If it's with a model or someone that I know, maybe the energy of that session can't be recaptured. Maybe I took a photo of someone's grandmother, and then they pass away, and they were trusting my abilities to capture her before she passed on. And so, like, it forces me to be diligent and to be good in all areas of it. It doesn't stop with clicking the shutter. And I feel that if people are going to trust me to take their picture, then I have to give them my best all the time.
Do you have any advice for aspiring photographers?
Shoot a whole lot. I guess I could say I'm still an aspiring photographer. Look at famous photographers. Look at photographers from the past. Look at Irving Penn. Look at Helmut Newton. Look at Lebowitz. Look at Sally Mann. Look at famous photographers and see how they did things. Look up documentaries on these photographers and why they shot. Gordon Parks, Mapplethorpe. As you start seeing why they did what they did, like photography is easy. It's a box with a lens And you literally, the cameras are so good these days that you can literally point it at anything, click the shutter, put it on a computer, and make a really great looking image. It's not hard, even with film. My cameras are aperture priority, or I have a meter that tells me what to set everything at. We have cell phones, we have video cameras. Like, the ability to take a picture is everywhere. And so because of that, like, if you want to be a photographer, if I want to be a good photographer, like, I have to dig deeper than that. I have to start looking at why I even want to take pictures in the first place. And once I figure that out, and once you figure that out, then we go to the next step, which is, why did I take that picture? What about that picture, what about that scene or that person or that mountain range or that sunrise or that sunset, like, what about that spoke to me and made me say, I feel that other people need to see this? And then once you figure that out, everything else just becomes style, everything else just becomes technique. But if you figure out why you take pictures, and if you figure out why the images you capture are worth sharing, like, everything else is easy. Whether you shoot street photography or portrait photography or landscape, people are people, mountains are mountains, and there will always, minus stay at home, for the most part, there will be busy streets and things going on to take pictures of. But if you figure out the why for yourself and why you feel other people should see your pictures, everything else is easy. Everything else will just fall into place. You can have people edit your stuff. You can buy fast computers. You can buy buy top of the line gear. So once you figure that out, once you figure out why you're doing things, and you figure out what drives you, and you figure out why you feel people should look at your work, if you can do that, then everything else will fall into place. People can see and feel the energy behind your photographs. They can feel the energy behind my photographs. When I take pictures of my kids, or when I take pictures of my wife, when I take pictures of friends, they can see the reason why I took that picture. And it rarely has to do with light or because they're beautiful. It has everything to do with the energy that I felt and needed to capture. So yeah, to be a better photographer doesn't come with your gear or how your pictures look. Being a better photographer comes from knowing why you want to be a photographer. What, just random nose picking? Yeah, my brain's really silent. It's just music all the time.
Do you have that phone still?